Okay, guys, let's get started without any further ado. So sorry to keep you waiting again. Before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my name is Mohammed Shoaib. I'm a cybersecurity trainer certified from EC Council. EC Council is the leading organization for trainings and certifications in the domain of cybersecurity. And the demo that we're taking up today is for the course Certified Ethical Hacking version 12. Now, this is a course specifically for people who want to get started in cybersecurity and who have no clue what it is basically. And again, it takes over the fundamentals of cybersecurity from the scratch. Okay. So before we do one last time, any questions or so, guys? Any questions by anyone? Again, please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any queries. You can interrupt me at any certain point, unmute your mic and ask your questions. Okay. Now, let's get started. So in order to understand, again, in today's demo, I'm going to basically show you what the course contents are, what topics will be going throughout the course. Okay. And again, I'll explain the other technical details about the course as well. But before we do so, again, let's understand the main difference between hacking and ethical hacking, because most of the students usually have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking are one and the same thing. But again, there are two different things, poles apart, guys. Let me define them out. So when you talk about hacking, it is a procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. What I mean by that phrase, gaining access to information systems, is that if I were a hacker, and let's say if I hacked your phone, it basically means I've got complete remote access of your phone. Okay, I have access to the data. I can steal your data. I can go through your data. I can delete that data, modify that data, or even sell that data to other people. And all of this is done without your permission or without your consent. Okay, so again, when you talk about hacking, it is the process of gaining access to information systems, which could be anything. I've taken the example of a mobile phone, but it could be a PC, it could be a router, it could be a firewall, it could be a database, it could be a web server, anything. Okay, and this is usually performed by hackers for their benefit, as I've mentioned. And sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for the sake of fun. Okay, so again, most of the times hackers try to delete your data. Okay, so they steal the data from your system and delete or wipe your system away. Okay, now, if this is hacking, why do we have a course called ethical hacking is the question. And how is this getting ethical in the first place? How is this getting legal in the first place? Now, when you define ethical hacking, on the other hand, it is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. Now, this term called vulnerability is something that you'll hear throughout the course, guys. A vulnerability is a loophole or a flaw in the security of the information system. So hackers try to take advantage of those vulnerabilities, exploit them, and try to perform attacks. So our job in ethical hacking is to find those same vulnerabilities before the hackers do. Again, but one important point to note is this is done with the consent of the organization. So you work hand in hand with the organization, you abide by all the rules and policies of the organization, and then you try to find the weaknesses in their network, okay, or their devices. And once the loopholes have been found, once the vulnerabilities have been found, you report it back to the company. And once it is reported, it's the responsibility of the company to patch them up. Once the vulnerabilities are patched, you're increasing the security and you're keeping the systems secure and away from hackers. So thereby with ethical hacking, we're trying to increase the security of the infrastructure and we're seeing to it that we prevent it from getting hacked. Okay. Is that clear, guys? Any questions or doubts up to this part? What is hacking? What is ethical hacking? And the differences between them? Kirtana, Manas, Srikant, Ram, Vijay.
No.
Perfect. Now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, guys, we can categorize the types of hackers as well. So there's three broad categories. There's someone known as a black hat hacker, there's someone known as a gray hat hacker, and then there's someone known as a white hat hacker. Black hat hackers are common cyber criminals who perform hacking for their own benefit without asking for consent. On the other end of the spectrum, you have white hat hackers who are the good guys of the picture. So they are also called as ethical hackers who abide by the laws and policies of the organization and work for securing the organization rather than causing any harm. Okay. And then in between, there's a third category as well, a mysterious category called gray hat hackers. Now, these guys have both the properties of a black hat as well as a white hat hacker. Like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first, but once they find the vulnerability, they report it back to the company. But here there's a minor catch. They don't do it for free, definitely not. They do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is something which benefits them for finding that vulnerability and reporting it to the company without, again, causing any harm to them. Okay, so that bounty could be a financial reward, it could be a reputational reward, anything which benefits the hacker for reporting the weakness to the company. Okay. Now, all these three types of hackers, whether you take the black hat hacker, gray hat hacker, or white hat hacker, they perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is called as hacking cycle or cyber kill chain. Okay. Now, when you talk about hacking cycle or cyber kill chain, the EC Council organization has defined a very beautiful and a very well-rounded hacking cycle. It consists of 5 important steps. Okay. And let me list the steps out first. So the first step is called as information gathering. Some companies also refer to information gathering as reconnaissance or also as footprinting. Some companies, I mean, again, it is one and the same term, guys. So there's no difference between each of those. Okay. So don't get confused when you hear these other terms called reconnaissance or footprinting. In simple terms, they mean information gathering itself. And then the second step that you have is scanning. In certain organizations, it's also called as enumeration. Okay. And the third step is called as gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. Now, if you carefully observe here, only in the last step, I've mentioned the word or. Reason being, no matter what kind of a hacker you are, whether you take a white hat hacker scenario, a black hat hacker scenario, or a gray hat hacker scenario, all the three kind of hackers have the first 4 steps exactly identical. So there's no change in the procedure in the first 4 steps. All of them follow the same steps and same rules. What changes is only the last step. If you're a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, you would report the vulnerabilities back to the organization. On the other hand, if you're a black hat hacker, a cyber criminal, you would not report anything, but you try to stay anonymous. You try to remove the evidences. Okay, deleting footprints, deleting logs. Okay, deleting again, staying. Keeping your identity secure and anonymous. Okay, so trying to stay hidden rather than being traced out, and that, in simple terms, is called as clearing traces. Okay, so I've listed out all the steps here. Let me explain in detail what each of these steps are. Okay, and what they consist of. Okay, so that would give you a good idea about the whole course content. Okay, so the first step now is called as information gathering. From the name itself, you can figure out this is a step which involves the hacker to gather information or data about the target organization. So when you want to perform hacking or ethical hacking, the first step you do is you try to research about the organization. You try to find some pieces of information about that. Okay. And the more information you find, the more possibilities you find, the more attack vectors you find to, again, perform penetration testing or hacking. Okay. So again, if I give you this with an example, so let's say if I were a bank robber, again, if I had to rob a bank, first thing the robber does is he observes the bank from outside. Okay. And this is done discreet or passively. No one in the bank would know that someone is observing the bank this way. Okay. So I would observe the bank from a far away distance, understand when the bank opens, when the bank closes, how many CCTV cameras are there outside the bank, how many security guards are there outside the bank, where all are they placed. Okay, when does the money package or money van come, when does the money van leave. Okay, is the bank open on weekends. Okay, what are the maintenance hours for the bank. Okay, so I'm just trying to observe the bank from outside. Okay, that's basically information gathering. Similarly, when you talk about information gathering and hacking, you need to retrieve some pieces of information about your target organization. And this information is retrieved from some special websites on the internet. Okay, we'll learn what those websites are during the class, guys. But at least let me tell you what information needs to be gathered. And this is the information that you would need in order to perform proper hacking or ethical hacking. So first thing you would need is the IP addresses or the range of IP addresses for the servers of the organization. Now, just like how we have names to communicate with one another or address each other, IP address is the name or an identity for the devices. Okay, each unique server has its own unique public IP. Okay, so we'll talk what those IP addresses are in much more detail in our classes. Okay, so it's a part of networking concepts, but don't worry, we'll cover basics of networking as well in our course. Okay, so we need to find the IP addresses. We need to find the whose records. Whose records tell you who's hosting the website for them. Okay, when was their website first hosted? When did they update their website last? Okay, when will their website expire? and who's hosting the website for them, GoDaddy, BigRock, who's the DNR, domain name registrar for them. So all this is found in whose records. Then you need the DNS records. DNS records give you the linking between all the domains of the organization or their subdomains and their IP addresses. Okay, so that linking between domains and IPs is found in DNS records. Then you need employee details, such as their contact numbers, their email addresses. If they're still using fax by any chance, what are those fax numbers? Okay. And what are the usernames and passwords which might have been leaked on the internet? Okay. What are the domains for the website? What are the subdomains for their websites? Okay. And what operating system are they using? Are they using Linux servers? Are they using Microsoft servers? So all this information needs to be retrieved, okay, before you perform hacking. And believe it or not, all this information is readily available on the internet to be fetched from. Okay. So any questions up to this part, guys? Anyone who's not clear with anything up to this point? Charan, Manas, Rohit, Kirtana, Ramu, Vijay, Shrikant.
From my side, no.
Perfect. Guys, again, please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any questions. Okay, I can clarify them. We can go back a bit. Okay, and again, if you don't understand this, you might not understand the upcoming slides. Okay, so it's necessary that these concepts are clear. Okay, so again, do not hesitate. Let's keep this a bit interactive. Okay, and it's going to be much more fun that way rather than it being just a one-sided session. Okay, so now once the information gathering step is done, then you go into the next phase, which is scanning. So just like in the bank robbery case, if you remember, I can't again retrieve all information just by observing the bank from outside. Okay, I need to retrieve information from inside the bank as well, right? So I need to enter the bank once and understand or gain information from inside, from the internal network. Okay, so how many CCTV cameras are there inside the bank? How many security personnel are there inside the bank? In which corner of the bank or in which floor of the bank is the vault located? Okay, how many employees are there inside the bank? Okay, what are all the exit or entry points? Okay, and are there any again extra security measures inside the bank? So I need to understand that information as well. But unless and until I enter the bank at least once, I cannot retrieve that. So when you're entering the bank, you are giving away your information as well. You will be capturing yourself in their security cameras, but nonetheless, it's still a very important step. Similarly, in scanning, you try to retrieve some extra information by making active connections. Active connections in the sense, from your system, you will send certain packets to the target servers and retrieve extra pieces of information. So what is that information? I can explain that in 3 steps. So there's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. So first thing that you perform is network scanning, where you try to figure out in their target organization, how many devices are there in the internal network. So how many routers are they using? How many firewalls are they using? How many, again, local FTP servers or mail servers are they using? So internally in their network, what all devices exist? Okay. Once you know the list of all the devices in their internal network, on those devices, you perform port scanning, trying to figure out on those devices what ports are open, and on those ports, what services or applications are running. Okay. Again, don't get confused with ports, guys. There are 2 types of ports, something called as physical ports and then something called as logical ports. Physical ports are the one that you see on your system, the USB port, charging port, the HDMI port. I'm not talking about those ports here. There's something else called as logical ports. Okay. Every system or every operating system has around 65,535 logical ports as well. Okay, we'll go in much more detail about them in the upcoming classes. Okay, but these ports are like entry and exit point for services, for whatever data needs to be, sent or needs to be sent or received on these services or protocols. They are received on these ports. Okay, so we try to figure out what such ports are open on each of the systems, and on those ports, what protocols or services are running, which are receiving and sending data. Okay, and once you know the port numbers and the services running, finally you perform vulnerability scan, trying to figure out on those ports, are there any services which are vulnerable, which are weak, which can be attacked. Okay, so during this phase, we'll be using 2 very important tools. One of them is called Nmap. So you can just do a common search called Nmap. As you can see, this is a network and a port scanner. Again, this is one of the very oldest tools, guys. It's been there since 1997. But even in today's world, in the latest tools, it's still being used. It's quite a very crucial tool. Okay. And after Nmap, there's one more tool called Tenable Nessus. This is a vulnerability scanner. So you can click on the link from Tenable here. This is basically a vulnerability scan. What it does is it tells you automatically, it scans your network and tells you in each of those devices, what vulnerabilities are there? Are there any misconfigurations, or are there any in source code vulnerabilities? Okay. So whatever weaknesses are there in your systems, it gives them out all to you in a report. Okay. And this is quite an expensive tool, guys. So if you click on buy, you can notice it's around $6,000 or so. Luckily for us, there's a trial version where you don't have to pay anything and you can still run the tool for a limited amount of time. So we'll use that trial to our benefit and understand how to run this tool, how to install it and run it in an organization. The reason I'm showing you all this is just to make you understand whatever tools we'll be working in the course, they are the same tools that are used in the industry right now, exact same real-time tools. Okay. So again, once this is done, once the scanning phase is done, then we go into the next phase, which is gaining access. Once you have retrieved all the information, once you have all the data in your hands, the next thing is utilizing that data and attacking the target, which in simple terms is called as gaining access. Now, this is a huge concept, guys. It is actually the main core of the subject where we learn all the different attacks on endpoints. Okay, so let me list out all the topics first. Yeah. So the first topic that we're going to learn in gaining access is system hacking. How do you crack or bypass a Windows operating system password? So again, for example, let's say there's a Windows 7 system or Windows 8.1 or 10 or 11. It doesn't matter which version it is. Even if it is a locked computer, how do hackers crack the password for that system? Or how do they bypass the lock and still access the internal data? So let's say if your laptop is stolen, even though if it is locked, how can hackers remove that in authentication and still access your data? That's what we're going to learn in system hacking. Also, we'll learn the prevention methods as well. How can we stop those methods from working on our systems? Okay. Then there's malware attacks. Malware is a combination of two simple words, malicious softwares. Okay. And there's tons and tons of categories of malwares. People have a misconception that only viruses are the only malwares that exist, but that's again a very wrong idea. There's tons and tons of malwares, guys. There's viruses, worms, trojans, spyware, rootkit, adware, scareware, whatnot, ransomware. Okay, so there's tons and tons of malwares. Every single day you have a new malware popping up. So again, we learn the most important malwares. Okay, we learn how do we create those malwares, how do we defend our system from those malwares. Okay, and how do we detect them if they are already secretively installed or hidden on your system. Okay, then there's a bonus concept called malwares advanced. Now this is a course, I mean it's altogether a different course, guys. I'll be sharing the resources for that. In this way you learn how to create malwares using Python programming. Again, guys, for this course, there is no requirement for programming. Okay, I'm just going to share a bonus course to you called Malware Advanced, where you can learn how to create your own malware using Python. Okay, if you want. So again, after that, there's network penetration testing, where we learn all the common internal network attacks, such as sniffing attack, man-in-the-middle attack. Using these attacks, hackers can capture the data or packets that are traveling in the network. So if I enter my username and password and send it to a website, let's say if I'm browsing the web, this packet goes from your system to the router. So if there's a hacker in your network, he can intercept that packet and read your data. So that is called as MITM attack, man-in-the-middle attack. So we'll learn what are the tools used for that. We'll also use a very important tool in this module called Wireshark. Wireshark is one of the most popular tools used in organizations for capturing data packets and analyzing data packets. So we'll be working on this tool as well in this class. Okay. And after that, then there's denial of service attacks, where we learn how do hackers shut down servers? How do they overload servers with huge amounts of packet and cause them to break down? Okay. Then there's hacking wireless networks, where we learn how do hackers attack Wi-Fi routers and crack the password for Wi-Fi routers. Then there's social engineering. As you can notice, this is an attack which is very common these days, also commonly called as phishing attacks. You might have heard about it, where hackers try to send you fake login pages. It could be a fake bank login page. It could be a fake organization's page. It could be a fake social media page. Okay, they send it to you and they might, again, try to trick you or convince you into giving away your credentials. And if you believe them and if you don't observe the page carefully, and if you enter your credentials in that fake page, they go directly to the attacker. So we learn how do hackers create these fake login pages, and how do you distinguish between an original page and a fake page and prevent from getting attacked yourself from phishing attacks. Okay. Then there's web application penetration testing, the next module, which covers or which deals with the vulnerabilities in websites. Again, this is altogether a completely different course, guys, frankly speaking, but we'll cover the basics, a few important vulnerabilities from website testing. To list them out, there's SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, file upload vulnerability, and a few more. Again, these vulnerabilities allow you to inject malicious queries on databases and get access to backend databases without authentication. They allow you to inject JavaScript code and steal cookies of other users. They allow you to upload malicious files to servers and get or gain complete remote control of servers. So these are all the vulnerabilities that we work with. And during this module, we'll be using a very important tool called Burp. Not sure if you've heard about it. This is one of the most important softwares used for testing website security. So we'll be working with this tool as well. Okay. And then after that, finally, we have vulnerability assessment. So during this module, we'll understand how do you verify whether your organization is secure from a certain vulnerability. So when you run a Nessus scan, it gives you a report. That report basically tells you in your network what system contains what vulnerabilities. But you just can't solely depend on that report. You have to verify that report. You have to manually test if the vulnerabilities shown in the report are actually existing or if they're false positives. So that is called as vulnerability assessment. You try to assess each vulnerability and check if it is truly impacting your organization or not by attacking with it. Again, that is called as VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Okay, it's a very important module. There are a lot of job roles that you have right now in cybersecurity are VAPT job roles, vulnerability assessment and pen testing job roles. Then there is final module, which is hacking mobile phones. In this module, we learn how do hackers create Android Trojans, how do they send these Trojans to other Android phones and get complete remote connection of an Android phone. Okay, and what all could happen from that? Okay, how can hackers hack into your phone's camera? How can they get your contacts? How can they get your SMS messages, your OTPs? We'll learn all that in hacking mobile phones. Okay, so if you observe here carefully, guys, we are covering each and every module. We're talking about system security. We're talking about network security. We talk about wireless security. We talk about website security. We also talk about, again, vulnerability assessment. We talk about mobile security. So you're trying to cover almost all the endpoints that could exist in a real time in an organization. Okay. Is this clear, guys? Any questions up to this part? Kirtana, Manas, Lavanya, Piyush, Ritesh, Rohit, Vijay, Ramu. Am I missing out someone? Okay, assuming I've not missed out anyone. Now, once this is done, guys, there are two small modules left out. So this was the main core of the subject. After this, you have two modules called maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. Now, these are the smallest of modules, frankly speaking. They usually get covered in 2 or 3 days max, not more than that. In maintaining access, we learn how do hackers maintain persistent connections. What I mean by that is once you have gained a connection to the target system, that connection should not close, even if the user restarts his device. So even after restart, the hacker should still be connected to the target system. So that is what we learn in maintaining access. How do we do that? How do we maintain persistent connections? Then finally, there's reporting or clearing traces, where we learn how do you generate a report and submit a final report to the organization after performing pen testing, or also how do you remove evidences like a black hat hacker. So the course is going to run in 2 tracks, guys. We'll have an ethical hacker's perspective and a black hat hacker's perspective as well. So we learn the offensive methods. How do you attack the target system like a hacker? And also we'll learn the defensive methods. How do you defend your systems from attackers? Okay. And again, as I've mentioned, since not everyone would be from a technical background, before we dive into these advanced concepts from information gathering, we have a few prerequisites to cover first. Okay. And these are the prerequisites. Okay, so first we'll learn about networking basics. We'll learn what IP addresses are, what are IPv4 addresses, what are IPv6 addresses, what are some common networking protocols, DNS protocol, DHCP protocol. So we'll cover all the basic networking concepts in this module. Okay, after that is done, we'll talk about virtualization. The reason being, we need to install a software called VMware. So this is an application that is used in order to create our lab setup. So when I open this up, this VMware application allows you to run multiple operating systems in one singular device. And one of the most important operating systems that we need to run is the Kali Linux operating system. So this is a Debian flavored Linux operating system. You can go to your browser, search for Kali Linux, click on the first link from there. And this is the official website from where you can download Kali. This is one of the most advanced penetration testing distribution. What it basically means by that is this operating system is specifically built for security, information security tasks, okay, such as computer forensics, penetration testing, security research, and whatnot. And good thing, just like all good things in life are free, even Kali Linux is free for us. Anyone can download this and use it. It's completely open source. Okay. And once you have this downloaded and installed in your VMware, you're going to learn how to run this operating system and how to operate on it. So this is a Linux operating system, and hence we would need to know Linux commands. So there's a separate module for that as well. So we'll learn, so we'll also learn Linux and Windows commands. And after these prerequisites are covered, then we dive into the advanced concepts. Okay, so there's a lot of bonus concepts as well, guys. After our course is done, after CS is done, we learn a few extra bonus concepts as well, which are quite important modules to progress in or to learn about after your course is done. So we learn about IoT, we learn about cryptography, we learn about reverse engineering, we learn basics of cloud security. Okay, this is altogether a different course, but we learn the basics of it. We learn about Splunk and SOC analysis. It is a very important tool that is used in organizations, okay, for SOC analysis. SOC stands for Security Operations Center. So basically, in any organization, the infrastructure of security is divided in two departments. There's something called a SOC and NOC. SOC stands for Security Operations Center, where people use tools like Splunk or Alien Vault to understand or analyze the traffic coming in the network. Okay, so to analyze the traffic or the log files, so whatever devices are there, all the logs from those devices are fetched and centralized in one singular machine. And that machine monitors through the logs and analyzes the logs to check if there are any cyber threats. Okay, if there are cyber threats, you can analyze them. You can try to make rules to prevent those cyber threats or stop them. So that is all done in SOC analysis using tools like Splunk. So I'll be sharing the resources for that as well. It's altogether a different course, but again, we'll be learning a few important basics on that. Yeah, was someone asking a question, guys? I could hear someone unmute their mic. Any questions, guys, up to this part? Anyone? Please do not hesitate to ask your questions. Okay, one more thing to mention this. There's the new batch starting from Tuesday again. I'll be taking the same demo, what we have taken today, tomorrow as well, guys, at 9 p.m. So if you have joined a bit late today, nothing to worry. You can join the same demo tomorrow at 9 p.m. as well. And from Tuesday, we're going to take the first class on networking basics. We'll learn about IP addresses. Again, every class is recorded, guys. You will be getting the recordings for each and every session. And you also will be getting the notes and the materials. So there's already a notepad, notes created for each session. Let me show where it is. Class notes. Yeah, as you can see, for each class, there's a notepad file already generated. So you don't have to write any notes separately. If you want, you can build up a rough note, okay, as we take the class. But other than that, the actual notes is already prepared for you. You'll be getting the notes, you'll be getting the materials, you'll be getting the recordings, okay, and all the, again, after the course is done, a lot of other extra resources as well. So yeah, that's that, guys. The course is for a duration of 35 days. You will have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. And the batch is going to be at 9 p.m. It's a suitable time for both working and non-working people. Again, your people can get back from their work and start the class at 9 o'clock. And it usually gets done by 9:40 or 9:45. Okay. So again, the whole course is divided in a 20-40 ratio, guys, I would say. If you have a 1 hour session, the first 15 to 20 minutes will discuss the theoretical aspect of that topic. And then the remaining 35 to 40 minutes, we talk about the practical aspect of that topic. Okay, with, as I've mentioned, the real-time tools that are used in organizations. Okay, it's a very practically implemented course, guys. But since this is just a demo, I couldn't show you anything practical. But again, please do join the upcoming demos as well. Again, we'll talk about networking. We'll talk about lab setup installation. Those contain a few practical concepts. So again, if you're interested, please do join the class on Tuesday. We'll be taking the first concept on networking on Tuesday. If you want to join the same demo, what we have taken today, you can join tomorrow, Monday at 9 p.m. Okay, it should be the same link. There should be no change in the link. If there is a change, you'll be getting the updated link as well. Okay. So any other questions or doubts, guys, up to this point? Charan, Kirtana, Manas, Ritesh, Rohit, Shrikant, Ramu, Vijay, Geetan.
Class is at 9 p.m. Every day, regular class.
Yes, Shrikant, it's going to be at 9 p.m. every day.
That's fine. Does the Splunk is a programming language or normal?
It's not a programming language, Shrikant. It's an analysis tool, frankly speaking. So again, as I've mentioned, in an organization, you might have multiple devices. You can have FTP servers, you can have web servers, you can have your networking router devices, you can have firewalls. Okay. So again, you monitoring each and every device is quite hectic. So what Splunk does is tries to import all the logs from all these devices and keeps it centralized in one singular device. Now, once you have all the logs from all these devices in one place, it categorizes them according to a certain timestamp. Okay. And you have logs exactly in a timely order to analyze if there's something wrong happening in the network. Okay. So it allows you to monitor the network, analyze the network, and check out or figure out cybersecurity threats. Okay. So, and after you detect a threat, it also allows you to create rules to prevent that threat. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Shrikant, go ahead. Were you saying something, Shrikant?
Oh, nothing. That's fine.
I hope I've clarified your question.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions, guys? Charan, Geetan, Kirtana, Rohit, Ritesh, Ramu, Manas. Okay, guys, assuming there are no questions. Again, I would request you to join the session on Tuesday again, where we'll take the first class. Course is priced at 8,000. Oh, I'm so sorry if I haven't mentioned that. I guess the institute has mentioned that in the chat box. If they haven't, the course is priced at 8,000 rupees, guys. Okay. Again, trust me, it's at a very low price. Frankly speaking, I teach for a couple other institutes as well, a few in Bangalore and a few in Mumbai. And they are charging around 25,000 for the same course, same instructor, same course content, no difference in that. But here in DurgaSoft, it's priced at 8,000 rupees INR, Indian currency. 8,000, Charan. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Assuming there are no questions, again, thank you for joining the session on a Sunday, guys. Thanks for giving out your time. And yeah, I hope you found it interesting. I hope I didn't bore you out or I didn't get you back to sleep. And yeah, Ramu, the course is for 35 days. We'll have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. Okay, so on a rough average, it might take from 35 to 40 days to complete the course. Okay. So yeah, that's it, guys. Nothing further. I'm going to exit the session now. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being there. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you on Tuesday again. If you want to join the same demo again, please do join tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Yeah. Thank you, sure.
Oh, thanks, Rita. Bye-bye. See you soon, guys. Take care.